Number one, you have to factor each trinomial by guess and check. There's more than one way you can factor. I'm going to do the Korean method. So you set it up with this thing that kind of looks like a multiplication symbol. And you say, what can I multiply to get the first term? So that's a 2. So I put, the only thing I can do is 2 times 1. Then it's what can I multiply to get 10? Well, I can do 1 times 10, or I can do 2 times 5. Well, I can't put a 2 here and a 5 here because you can't have common factors going straight across, and 2 and 2 have a common factor of 2. So I know that won't work. So this is why it's important to use a pencil, because you are going to do a lot of erasing. So then I'm going to try it the other way around. So I'll try a 5 here and a 2 here. So then you multiply along your arrows. So 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 5 is 5. If I add those together, I get 9, which was my middle term. So I've got it. What I have to do is go straight across to write out my answer. So you put your x's in. Put an x here, put an x here, then you go straight across to write out what your answer is. So I have a 2x and a positive 5 and a 1x and a positive 2. And now to check that I make sure I'm right, I FOIL this, I do double distributive property, I can do box, I can do any one of these. So 2x times x is 2x squared, 2x times 4 is 4x, 5 times x is 5x, add those together I get 9x, 5 times 2 is 10. For number 5, the only thing I can multiply to get my first term, 3, is 3 times 1. But to get negative 24, there's a bunch of possibilities. I could do a negative 1 times 24. I could do a negative 2 times 12. I could do a negative 3 times 8. I could do negative 4 times 6. 5 won't work. Then I'm back to 6, which is on my list, so I know I have a complete set. I could also put the negatives on the second number. So I have a big long list of all the possibilities of everything I can multiply to get a negative 24. So I've got to get, when I multiply down my arrows and I add them, I've got to get like a negative 14 in the top. So I don't know, I'm going to try to start off with 4 and 6. So I'm going to do a negative 4 here and a 6 here. So if I do that, I'm going to get a 3 times 6 is 18. 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. If I add those up, I get 14. I'm close. I needed a negative 14 instead of a positive 14. So maybe if I switch my signs, that's going to work. So maybe I should put, since I tried negative 4 and 6, maybe I should try the positive 4 and the negative 6. So 3 times 6 is negative 18. 1 times 4 is 4. If I add those together, I get negative 14. So I got it on my second try. That wasn't too bad. So when I write my answer, I go straight across. So I have, put your x's in. So I have a 3x plus 4. And I have a 1x minus 6. So just to check it, 3x times x is 3x squared. My outsides, 3x times negative 6 is negative 18x. My insides are 4x. Negative 18 and 4 makes a negative 14x. And a positive 4 times a negative 6 gives me a negative 24. So you should always multiply it back out to make sure you get back to what you started with. Okay, I have to factor 4x squared minus 9x plus 5. So I set up my 2 arrows. Oh, this time I have a problem because 4 can be 1 times 4, or it can be 2 times 2. So now I have a choice of what I'm going to put here. 5, to multiply to get 5, I can do, the only thing I've got is 1 times 5. So I'm going to start with the 1 and the 4. And then here, I've got to multiply by a positive, but I'm going to have to add up to be a negative. So what I know is both of these signs are going to have to be negative. A negative 1 times a negative 5 adds up to positive 5. So I'm going to try a negative 1 here and a negative 5 here. So if I multiply going down, I get negative 5. If I multiply going up, I get negative 4. I add those together. I got it on the first try. I got negative 9. So then when I write my answer, I put my x's in. And I'm going to have x minus 1. And I'm going to have 4x minus 5. So to check it, x times 4x is 4x squared. My outsides are negative 5x. My insides are negative 4x. That adds up to negative 9x. And negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. Number 13, you have to factor 4a squared plus 8a minus 5. So once again, to multiply to get 4, I can do 1 times 4, or I can do 2 times 2. To multiply to get a negative 5, I can do a positive 1 times a negative 5, or I can do a negative 1 times a positive 5. So this time I'm going to try the 2 and the 2 first. And then I'm going to try a positive 1 and a negative 5. So 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. 2 times 1 is 2. If I add those together, I get negative 8, and I needed a positive 8. So I bet my signs are just backwards. So let's switch my signs and make that a negative 1 and a positive 5. So then when I multiply, I get a positive 10. I get a negative 2. I add those, I get a positive 8. So that's it. So when I write my answer, put your x's in. So I've got 2x minus 1, and I have 2x plus 5. So first times first, 2x times 2x. Whoops, those should be a's, not x's this time. That was a mess up. So I need to put a's there, because that was my variable. So let's fix that. So that should be an a, and that should be an a. So see, I caught that when I went to check my work. So 2a times 2a is 4a squared. My outsides are 10a, my insides are negative 2a, that adds up to 8a, and negative 1 times positive 5 is negative 5, so I know I've got it right.